Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Week 13 version of the Michigan Ultimate Survivor League podcast. Playoff round 3/2, depending on what week you're looking forward to. Coverage here. I, as always, am your host, James L. Seegers, commissioner of this league. Flying solo yet again because, as you can imagine, the other commissioner has basically not been on any of these podcasts. He's kind of a silent partner, but he sure makes a lot of noise on the message boards when things go wrong. Anyway, good job getting in the playoffs on the other league, by the way. Richard Perez, your team scored, 17 points this week, but you got in the wild card? That's garbage. Anyway, so, yeah, a lot of things to talk about here. First and foremost, I have a giant mess behind me, as you see here. This is all the Christmas presents with the for our holiday ugly sweater party that you might not even be able to wear sweaters to because it's supposed to be 60 degrees this weekend. Got a lot to do for that. Got a lot of MegaCon stuff to do. I've already shot this one time, but when I went to do the screen share, I inadvertently turned off the damn podcast. So I talked to myself for 15 minutes. So I'm a little upset about that. Needless to say, I'm not going to let that sacrifice the quality of this podcast. So let's get right to it. We are in a little bit of a rush. So first thing I want to address is the fact that, as I've addressed multiple times, this site is not perfect. We love it. It's like that, I don't know, the delinquent brother-in-law or something that you have. You love him, but it's broken as shit. There was no restructuring of the bracket in terms of what the game should be. The problem is that the site, for whatever reason, just placed the games in order of seed, and obviously that's not accurate. If you look at the site, and this is where I went to the screen share and friggin' disconnected the call last time, you have Cheechki and Fearboner. Then right below them is Robert Griffin III and Collector Kings. Those are 1 and 2 seeds. They should not be right on top of each other. And ultimately, in terms of how the games are scheduled, they're not on top of each other. Just the site puts them that way for some reason. It's kind of like if you had, typically with this many teams, you have like a left side of the bracket and a right side of the bracket, and you go like this towards the middle. Here, it's just basically all up and down. It's kind of shitty, but it is what it is. So, unfortunately for Tony Cromwell, the bracket is correct. The matchups are correct. Just the drawing is incorrect. So you will not be playing your wife this week, but you might play her next week. Who knows? Sucks having to go over this again, but it is what it is. It happens sometimes, and can't do much about that. So going over what happened last week, some of these games were close, some of them weren't. Cheechki defeated Fearboner 92-86. Robert Griffin the Turd proved once and for all that he belongs here. Screw the controversy from that Collector Kings game. Originally, he stomped Collector Kings this time, 118.78 to 70.05. Danny Lane's regular muscle season comes to an end. More on that at the end here, okay? The Squadrels, they were so confident that they put their season on the hands of Brock Osweiler, and Divine Justice strikes. He got murdered. My God, 126-53. He got more than doubled up by Sioux Girls 1 Cup. They move on to the next round. And speaking of Cromwell's, Brady O'Bush put up a very week high of 134.29, which unfortunately for Getting Schneider, they were playing them because Getting Schneider put up 98.6, which would have beaten almost every other team in the league aside from Brady O'Bush. So you lose, Tom Schneider, but thank you for playing. There's some lovely, there's no lovely parting gifts. I'm sorry. And then the Broskis defeated the Roster Baiters by a score of 78.28 to 65.24. So Andrew Brown's season comes to an end, but hopefully he can sell that mini fridge. Then the Red Wings, Mike Stevens' team, they get sent packing as well. Stafford Johnson goes deep, defeats them, goes deep, all right. And then so these last 2 games are worth breaking down just a little bit tighter, more in-depth coverage here, okay? New Orleans Rock Chucks, who basically hadn't submitted a lineup in 3 weeks, was on a friggin' clear path to win this thing. They had so many players that were not used. And going into the Sunday night game, Jeffrey Arbogast, the owner of the lovable Dublin Drunks, who was drawn in by a wild card, who defeated the Tecumseh Football Titans last week, he put on Facebook saying, well, looks like I need Antonio Brown to score 3 touchdowns, so it's been a good run. And, I didn't watch that game because I don't believe in watching abuse, but the Steelers manhandled the Colts that night, and Antonio Brown scored 2 touchdowns, had like 113 yards or whatever, and I was like, well, Jeff, you came close, but it's garbage time, so they're not going to throw the ball. And sure enough, they didn't throw the ball. But wouldn't you know it, in garbage time, Antonio Brown, this little prick, takes a punt return 71 yards to the house and pulls off the best comeback I think I've ever seen. Dublin Drunks defeat the New Orleans Rock Chucks 89.84 to 88.52. Amazing story. Yes, amazing. Unfortunately, Aaron King, your season is over. A fantastic job to you, though, my friend. Good job on the season. And then we get to this final game, which is a debacle of all debacles. It's the Big Z show. Is victimized by this site again. Showed that he had a lineup in. He didn't. He texted me his lineup, but I saw that he had a lineup in, so I'm like, meh, whatever. He must have figured it out. He didn't. It was not the right lineup, and ultimately he scores 0 points because the site's stupid when it comes to his team. I don't know how this is happening, but hopefully we will have our own site next year, and we won't have to worry about it. Nevertheless, I did the math, though. The lineup he sent me would not have been enough to beat Yeti Express, so the controversy ends there, luckily. So there's that. And so that means that on the properly structured bracket, because the winner of the Big Z show, who's the 8 seed, and the Yeti Express goes on to play the 1 seed. That's how a bracket is normally structured. I don't know what's wrong with this brain dead site when it drew this bracket, but still, the structure's right. Okay, so that means the winner of the 1 seed matchup will take the winner of the 8 seed matchup the way it should be. So therefore, Cheechki, if you look at the bracket, it is correct. Cheechki plays Yeti Express this week. That is Bob Ames' team. Robert Griffin III will play the Dublin Drunks. Will the magic continue for Jeffrey Arbogast? That's what everybody wants to know. If he can defeat Robert Griffin III, that'll be incredible. Sioux Girls 1 Cup goes on to play Brian David's team. Stafford Johnson goes deep. Unfortunately, I don't really know a lot about Brian David, so I don't really have any witty comments here. And then Brady O'Bush taking on the Broskis. That's Josh Harris's team in that final quarterfinal matchup. Now, a couple things to consider here, okay? We're down to 8 teams. There's a brother combo, 2 brothers. It's a film starring Mark Wahlberg, not really. And then there's also a husband-wife combo still in contention here. So it is definitely within the possibility that brother will play brother or husband will play wife at some point in the near future. It's going to be epic. We thought it was going to happen this week, but because the site is stupid and drew the brackets wrong, not the case. So, yeah. So that's one thing to consider for going forward. The other thing to consider going forward is that this week, the winners of these games will make it to the Final Four, which segues into my next point, is how the payout structure of this league is working this year. Got a lot of comments on the Survivor League Facebook group, like, oh, how's the payout structure? I don't know why you sound like that, but you do. And here's how the payout structure works. So the winners of this week will all be in the Final Four, and they're all guaranteed to receive $100, okay? You paid $20 to get into this league. If you make it to the Final Four, you get $100, so it's not a bad return on investment. The winners of this week will go on to the finals, obviously. More on that in a minute. The losers of this week will go into a third-place game, okay? So, the losers of the Final Four, the losers of next week will go into a third-place game. Basically, the winner of that third-place game gets a $100 bonus, so the third-place team gets $200. And the loser of the MUSL Championship game gets a $200 bonus, so they'll be getting $300 altogether. Now, the winner of the finals in 2 weeks, they get whatever money is left over, okay? Now, this is where it gets a little awkward to talk about. We have grown this league over the past 4 years. Every year we game in about 20 teams, from 40 to 60 to 80 to 96, okay? Over those years, we have secured some great owners. We've secured some deadbeat owners, and every year the deadbeat owners get weeded out. This year, I will tell you right now, we have a lot of deadbeat owners who basically abandoned their teams from day one. So that is not good. That means that, and we found replacement owners halfway through the season or, 3 games into the season, and we did not charge them to play. We're like, hey, I'd rather you just play for fun, and then if you like it, then next year you come back and pay legitimately, and rather than just have ghosty teams or whatever, right? Problem is even some of these people abandon their teams. So it's It's kind of shitty. So we do not have a total amount of money that's pooled in here yet. It's going to be really high, but there's going to be quite a few teams that are just swallowed up by the league, I guess, if you want to call it that. But I mean, nevertheless, the winner's going to get $1,000 almost certainly, and probably more than that even. Just we don't know the exact numbers. We'll find that out here in the next couple of weeks. And hopefully we can just PayPal the money, friends and family to you, or we can give you cash, whatever. But the point is that even though we had a lot of terrible owners this year, I would just like to say thank you to the owners who we recruited this year who were good. I mean, I'm telling you guys, next year I think we're going to have the best year ever, whether it's on this site or our own, because we had, I mean, for example, okay, like Robert Ames, John Gillette, Andrew Brown, Rob Bradley, Abel Frausto, Danny Lane. These are just a few of the names I can think of, and I apologize if I was going to call you out. Steve Garrity. All of your teams were great. You all seemed very active on the forums, on the boards. You all watch the podcast. I mean, that means a lot to me and to the people who put this league together and run this league. It means a lot. That's been mainly me, by the way. Richard and Rod do some of the randomizers and stuff, and believe me, they don't like to see this stuff either. But thank you to all of you guys I mentioned, and there are others obviously out there as well who have done a fantastic job as a first-year owner. Point is that we need to pass on what we have learned, as Yoda instructed Luke to do. You guys who I named and the people who love this league for the first time, share the passion, spread the passion, let people know how good this league is, so that next year, if we have your referrals in here, we will have basically 0 deadbeat teams. It'll be the best league possible. So I'm looking forward to that big time. I already know that we have 3 solid recruits for next year. The Samsung rep from our store, he's cool. Steve Garrity's wife is going to be in next year, and I don't remember the third one, but someone was telling me, "Oh, I got this great person. It's going to be amazing," and I believe you. So, final note is, and I'm going to talk about this every week until the season is over. People say their season is over, and it's not. The muscle season is never over. Actually, it is over, but you know, whatever. Terrible, terrible statement. Speaking of these new owners, they will get their first chance at this, and the first chance of the muscle as part of the playoff. Man, this statement fell apart. As part of the playoff challenge, it starts after the regular season of the NFL. When the NFL playoffs start, that is when the muscle playoff challenge begins. Basically, all the teams get wiped clean. You have all the players to use again. You start players just like you do this way, and then the regular season, once you use them, you can't use them again. But you do not compete against people 1-to-1 in this league. You compete for the total points period. So leagues like the ESPN league and stuff like that, they want you to start people early that you think will make it to the Super Bowl. Not the case here necessarily, because you want to start people that might not make it to the Super Bowl. So when the Super Bowl comes, you can use them in the game. So if you, let's say, for example, oh God, let's say it's Cam Newton. Let's say it's the Patriots and the Panthers in the Super Bowl, which it might be. You want to hope that you haven't used Cam Newton or Tom Brady at that point, because you might not have a quarterback for that week. But still, so it's a little bit interesting. And the person who gets the most points, and this is kind of why we don't have the full 96 team entry, gets a free entry into next year. So we might even spice it up and give 2 people free entry if there's enough interest. So yeah. I don't know what's going on right here, by the way, but it's really bothering me. So, all right, that's it, guys. I will talk to you next week. Good luck to everyone who made the quarterfinals, the Elite 8, if you will. Good luck. The winners of this week get $100. Just remember that. So bring your best. Bring your best. I know I'm going to be rooting for a lot of teams. Not going to say who, though. All right. Have a good one.